factories booming, metal clashing, and assembly belts running day and night, these were the birthplaces of World War II's most common tanks. Built fast, built tough, and built by the thousands, they changed the fight on every front. Let's dive into the 20 tanks that dominated the war through numbers alone. T-34, Soviet Union. If you asked me which tank changed World War II the most, I'd point straight to the Soviet T-34. When it rolled onto the battlefield in 1941, it shocked German commanders. Nothing else combined, sloped armor, off-road mobility, and a high-velocity gun quite like it. German shells literally bounced off the angled plates, and the wide tracks pushed through mud and snow like it was nothing. Millions of T-34 seconds were produced, and they became the backbone of the Soviet armored force. Crews loved that it was simple, rugged, and forgiving, perfect for a country fighting a massive, grinding war. Even when Germany brought out better tanks later on, the Soviets simply upgraded to the T-34 to 85, giving it a bigger gun and keeping it deadly until the very last days of the conflict. M4, Sherman, United States. If the T-34 was the king of the Eastern Front, the M4 Sherman ruled the Western one. Americans produced over 50,000 of them, making it one of the most widely used tanks in world history. And here's the thing, the Sherman wasn't about being the toughest tank, it was about being the most reliable. Sherman started in North Africa, pushed up through Italy, landed on D-Day, and fought all the way into Germany. Crews appreciated that it started easily, didn't break down as often as German tanks, and was incredibly flexible. Flamethrower versions, rocket versions, amphibious versions, the Sherman could do almost everything. Sure, it wasn't the best in a one-on-one duel against German heavy tanks, but the America focused on quantity, logistics, and teamwork, and that's what made the Sherman a legend. Panzer IV, Germany. People often think the Tiger or Panther was Germany's main tank, but the real workhorse was the Panzer IV. It fought from 1939 to 1945, showing up in every major German campaign. Early versions had short guns meant to fire explosive shells, but as the war dragged on, the Panzer IV was upgraded with longer, more powerful guns and thicker armor. By 1944, it was still holding its own even against newer Allied and Soviet tanks. It wasn't flashy or intimidating like the heavy Tigers, but it was dependable, easy to repair, and straightforward to produce. When people imagine German armored warfare, whether in the deserts of Africa or the forests of Russia, the Panzer IV is usually the tank that comes to mind. KV-1, Soviet Union. Before the T-34 stole the spotlight, the KV-1 shocked the Germans. This heavy tank was practically immune to early war German weapons. Its armor was so thick that some German units reported shooting at it for hours with no effect. It wasn't fast, and it wasn't comfortable, but it was an absolute bruiser. The KV-1 forced Germany to rethink its whole approach to tank design. Without the KV-1, it's possible the Panther and Tiger programs might never have been accelerated the way they were. That alone makes it one of the most influential tanks of the war. Panther, Germany. When the Germans realized how effective the T-34 was, they responded with the Panther. It had sloped armor like the Soviet tank, but packed a powerful, high-velocity 75mm gun that could punch through almost anything the Allies had. On paper, the Panther might have been the best all-around tank of World War II. But here's the catch. It was complicated. Early Panthers broke down constantly. Even later ones required careful maintenance and tons of fuel. Both things Germany was running out of by 1944. Still, when a Panther was working properly, it was one of the most dangerous tanks on the battlefield. Tiger I, Germany. The Tiger I is probably the most famous tank ever built. It had an 88mm gun that could destroy enemy tanks well before they got into range to fire back. Its thick armor made it almost untouchable from the front. But Tigers were expensive, heavy, and slow to produce. Many broke down before reaching battle, but the psychological effect, that was priceless. The Allies respected and feared the Tiger. Even seeing one on the horizon could shake entire units. Crusader, United Kingdom. Now let's switch to North Africa. Before the famous Churchill and Cromwell tanks, the British relied heavily on the Crusader. This fast cruiser tank zipped across the desert with speed that German tank crews genuinely worried about. But its armor was thin, and the early guns struggled against German machines. Still, in the early years of the Desert War, the Crusader was the backbone of British armored divisions and saw intense fighting against Rommel's Afrika Korps. Churchill, United Kingdom. The Churchill was almost the opposite of the Crusader, slow, heavily armored, and built to take punishment. It served in North Africa, Italy, and Normandy, proving itself especially good at climbing rough terrain and absorbing hits that would destroy lighter tanks. It also carried some unusual weapons, including flamethrowers and massive demolition guns used to smash fortifications. Crews loved how tough it was. Even when it became outdated as a tank, it still found roles thanks to its durability. Cromwell, United Kingdom. Before the war ended, the British introduced a new design, the Cromwell. It was fast, reliable, and armed with a gun strong enough to compete with late-war German tanks. Cromwells formed the core of British armored units in Normandy and raced across Europe afterward. They weren't as heavily armored as Tigers or Panthers, but they were quicker and far easier to maintain. Many veteran crews considered the Cromwell the best British tank of the war. M3 Lee, United States. The M3 Lee was odd. It had a gun mounted in the side of the hull instead of in a turret, and it looked a little like a metal barn rolling into battle. But in 1941-42, the U.S. and Britain desperately needed tanks, and the M3 arrived in huge numbers. It fought effectively in North Africa and the Pacific until better tanks like the Sherman became available. Its design was strange, but it filled a crucial gap at a crucial moment. M3 Stuart, United States. The M3 Stuart was America's main light tank early in the war. It wasn't meant to face heavy armor. It was built for scouting, and in that role, it was excellent. Fast, agile, and reliable, the Stuart became beloved by crews, especially in the Pacific, where Japanese tanks were lighter and easier to handle. Panzer III, Germany. Before the Panzer IV took over, the Panzer III was Germany's main battle tank. Designed for tank versus tank combat, it led the invasions of Poland, France, and early operations in Russia. Its gun eventually became too weak, but its mobility and crew layout influenced many later designs. Panzer 38, Czechoslovakia, Germany. The Germans captured this Czech tank and liked it so much they kept building it. The Panzer 38 was reliable, maneuverable, and perfect for early war combat. Even after it became outdated as a tank, its chassis lived on in vehicles like the Hetzer tank destroyer. Panzer II, Germany. The Panzer II wasn't meant to be a major combat tank. It was supposed to be a training machine, while better tanks were developed. But when war came faster than expected, thousands of Panzer IIs rolled into Poland and France. Light and lightly armed, it still played a huge role in Germany's early blitzkrieg victories. Su-76, Soviet Union. The Su-76 wasn't exactly a tank. It was a self-propelled gun, but it was produced in such massive numbers that you can't talk about World War II armored warfare without mentioning it. Light, simple, and cheap, it gave Soviet infantry units mobile fire support. If the T-34 was the spear, the Su-76 was the shield. Valentine, United Kingdom. The Valentine tank wasn't flashy, but it was reliable and well armored for its size. It served everywhere from North Africa to the Eastern Front, and the Soviets liked it enough to request more units from Britain. Thousands were built, making it one of the most produced British tanks of the war. T-26, Soviet Union. The T-26 was outdated by 1941, but there were so many of them that they still played a major role early in the war. Slow, thinly armored, and vulnerable, many were destroyed during Operation Barbarossa, but their sheer numbers meant they couldn't be ignored. Matilda II, United Kingdom. The Matilda II was practically unstoppable in the early desert battles. German anti-tank guns struggled to penetrate its armor, and the tank earned a reputation for being incredibly tough. Its 2-pounder gun was eventually too weak, but in 1940-41, the Matilda II was Britain's armored superstar. M10, Wolverine. Technically a tank destroyer, the M10 used a Sherman chassis, but carried a powerful 3-inch gun in an open-top turret. It was fast, flexible, and widely used by U.S. forces in Europe. When infantry needed support against German armor, an M10 was often the first thing they called for. Hetzer, Germany. Finally, we have the Hetzer, a small but deadly German tank destroyer. It had low profile, thick angled armor, and a gun that could ambush much larger enemy tanks. Built on the reliable Czech 38 chassis, it became one of Germany's most mass-produced armored vehicles late in the war. These 20 tanks didn't just fight battles, they shaped them. Some were monsters built for fear, others were rushed into production out of necessity, and many were simply workhorses that got the job done day after day. Together, they tell the story of the world's most devastating conflict through steel, fire, and engineering.